Aokigahara, or in English, the Sea of Doom. Aokigahara. Let's start.
Testing. 1, 2. There we go. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Cool Beans Hot Stuff. Today is Terrifying Tuesday, which means we're going to go through some spooky shit today. You probably already saw the title of the stream. About, I don't know, a month or two ago, I did a stream on the most, haunted places in the world, and didn't think, how many haunted fucking places there are in the world. There's a shit ton. So, I just picked my favorite, castles, cities, that sort of thing, and decided I would do, a second part and a third part or whatever, because these things are a lot of fun. I really enjoy just reading about spooky-ass shit that happens in the world. Obviously, that's why I have a Terrifying Tuesday, so I can sit here, read about stuff like that, and it's something for me to put on YouTube, yeah, but it's something I enjoy doing, right? Well, when I was setting up that stream for the most haunted places in the world, which is, by the way, on my YouTube channel in the Terrifying Tuesday playlist. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. It was a pretty decent video. But while I was doing the research for that, I realized, holy fuckballs, there is a lot of haunted places in Japan. For such a small country, they got a lot of ghost-ass shit happening over there. So I decided to set a whole stream aside just to do the most haunted places in Japan. And still didn't even get, the full scope of it. I could probably do another Haunted Japan stream and still hit another 8 to 10 really spooky-ass places there. There's so many haunted places in Japan. So I might do a second stream if this one goes well, if people like it on the YouTube channel and all that stuff. Firstly, if you are watching this live on Twitch, thanks for watching. I always appreciate having somebody tune in to sit and chat. I know my cutie pie. I don't know if she's popped on yet. She was upstairs brushing her teeth. She slept in a little bit today. So yeah, but it's always nice to have somebody to sit and chat with. That's kind of the whole point to live streaming is I actually get to chat with people. I'm still trying to figure out my restream thing. There's been a couple times where people have tried to chat with me and it doesn't pop up till like 15 minutes later and then they're already like long gone and it's like, damn, that's a bummer. But in any case, if you're watching this on YouTube, oh, I forget I'm live streaming on YouTube. Fuck, that's right. So I do that now. That's a thing. So if you're watching me there too, say hi and or not. Don't. You don't have to say shit. You can just, watch the stream and enjoy yourself. I hope you enjoy the stream. If you like spooky shit, I got some cool stuff for you today. And then if you're watching the video on YouTube, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoy it and have a good time watching it. And if you do, please like and subscribe. Helps the channel out and all that good stuff. So, anyways, let's dive into it because I got like, I don't know how many. I think like 8 to 10. It's somewhere in there. 8 to 10 of the most haunted places in Japan. And to be honest, I guess because there's so many of them, there's like 20 to 30 different places in Japan that have really spooky ass fucking ghosts rolling around up there. But I picked these ones because they had the coolest history, right? These ones had some interesting stories. Some of them don't really have like the most terrifying of ghost sightings, but the story behind why they're haunted, that's the part that's like, ooh, that's fucked up. So that's why I went with these choices. Maybe next stream I'll go with, except for this last one. This last one we're gonna do, man, I don't know about it. Fuck that one. Like I think Japan is such a cool country. I've never been there, but that's one country that I really want to go visit. And some of these places are so fucking pretty, in spite of how haunted they are, that I would totally go there just to fucking take pictures and see how pretty they are. But that last one, I don't want to be going there, and I'll show you why here at the end of the stream. Why that one's uber fucked up. But we're gonna go ahead and start with a pretty familiar one. Okay, we're gonna get the obvious one out of the way. The Aokigara Forest, and I'm pretty sure I'm saying that right too. Most of the time, I have a really hard time saying pretty much any foreign words that aren't in English, and even there's a lot of words in English that I have a hard time with. But Aokigara Forest, known as the Suicide Forest, right? If y'all haven't heard of this, most people have heard of this for a couple different reasons. If you haven't, there is a movie about the Aokigara Forest. That's this right here, called The Forest. Get pretty hard to fuck that up. Not a particularly good movie. I do like film reviews, or well, I'm about to start doing film reviews. Right now, I just do like film theory type shit on Fridays. Film theory and storytelling, how to type stuff, that sort of thing. Cough. And eventually I'll be getting into film reviews. So anytime a movie pops up on stream, I feel inclined to talk about it because I love talking about it. I love talking about movies just as much as I love talking about scary shit. But this movie wasn't the best. I don't know. They really had to stretch the plot to get an American girl down into the suicide forest and then have her like intricately connected to the forest. It was kind of a massive stretch. But I like that actress. I forget her name. This one, Natalie Dormer. Is that her? Yeah, that's the main actress. She's pretty good in it. But all around, it was kind of a miss. Still, though, which was a bummer because there's so many spooky ass stories that come out of the suicide forest, right? I think, where is it? Yeah, there you go. This is another reason why you've probably heard of the suicide forest. Logan Paul, back in 2017, I think. Well, we'll just read about it. YouTube has cut business ties with Logan Paul, a hugely popular vlogger who posted a video showing the body of an apparent suicide victim in Japan. I don't know if any of y'all remember that, but this was in, where was this? 2018. I was going to say 17. 2018. Paul's channels were removed from YouTube, Google Preferred Program, where brands sell ads, yada yada. YouTube also said it had to put on hold original projects with the US vlogger. What is YouTuber being punished for? The video shows Paul and his friends at the Aokigara Forest at the base of Mount Fuji, known to be a frequent site of suicides. Why they call it the suicide forest, yeah. Going into the film, The Haunted Forest, they come across a man's body and are shocked, but also make jokes. Yeah, I mean, if that got you banned in 2018, that definitely gets your ass banned now, right? Yeah, even if you're one of the Paul brothers. The identity of the deceased man is not known. Online comments have called the Japan video, which garnered millions of views on YouTube before it was taken down, disrespectful and disgusting. That's pretty disrespectful. Yeah, you got like an actual dead body there. That's pretty crazy. And start talking shit on it. Saying he had been misguided by shock and awe. He also uploaded a video apology and said I should have never posted the video. I should have put the cameras down and stopped recording when what we were going through. Yeah, that would probably have been a good idea. But whatever to get them clicks, right? So yeah, anyways, we don't need to go reading into the Paul brothers drama. But if you were around in 2018 and you gave a shit about these two guys, which a lot of people did. To be honest, I didn't know anybody who did. That's kind of one of those things, where you know about a person and you hear that this person is like beloved by like millions of people, yet I've never in my life met a person who watched Logan Paul or Jake Paul's videos. I remember Jake Paul's fights. I know a whole bunch of MMA fans who hate Jake Paul because of all the retired MMA fighters he's always boxing. But that's about the only people I've ever met who have ever been like, oh, yeah, I watched the Paul brothers stuff. Clearly, somebody had to because these guys are fucking loaded and made a big success on YouTube. So somebody was watching it. I just never know. I've never met those people. I don't know who those people are. But if you were one of those people or you were just kind of around in the YouTube scene, you might have heard about the Japan suicide video that got Logan Paul all fucking pissed off, got YouTube all pissed off at Logan Paul. So this is that forest, right? The Aokigara Forest is our first stop in haunted Japan, also known as a suicide forest. So is it haunted, right? That's the big question. And I don't know about haunted, but it's definitely a spooky place. I mean, pretty too. Look at that. That's beautiful. Beautiful in a spooky kind of way, right? It's kind of got that, what do they call that shit? Not minimalist, but well, maybe it is minimalist. It's got the continuously repeating image right there, and then just the nothing else has a very unsettling aspect to it, right? Very beautiful, but very, very unsettling. So, since the 1960s, the Aokigara Forest has been considered a uniquely morbid destination for some, hence its other name, Suicide Forest. Japan has one of the highest rates of suicide in the world. Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I guess I had heard that before. I think it had something to do with like work culture or something in Japan. That would be interesting to do a stream on that because that blows my mind. You see all the good food there and you're like, dude, how can anybody kill themselves with all that amazing food, all that amazing sushi and ramen just right at your fingers, man? And this forest has become known as an area in which people struggling with suicidal tendencies go. Obviously. This has led to regular patrols of the area that both discourage and unfortunately discover those who have considered suicide at the site. In fact, in 2010, the Japanese government stopped sharing the number of deaths that occur in the forest to stave off the morbid stories that feed into Aokigara's darker history. As another precaution, the forest has established trails and forbidden zones that guide tourists to the places they can and cannot go out of respect for the deceased and for safety reasons. Yikes, geez. They're like, yeah, don't go over there because that's where there's a whole bunch of bodies. The forest is also said to be home to Yuri, the ghosts of the dead that harbor a penchant for vengefulness, according to Japanese mythology. Ooh. As told in legend, the Yuri wander the Aokigara forest and are considered by some Japanese people to be like demons. Because of this and how Japanese culture traditionally views suicide, many locals and Japanese people do not dare to enter the suicide forest. So, how do Japanese people view suicide? The Japanese culture. I mean, suicide's kind of a big deal. It doesn't matter what culture you're in, yeah. But still, I'm gonna take a break to sit and look that up. How do these people, or how does Japanese culture? Because it's not like, I mean, I know there's a Christian aspect to Japan. I mean, I know there's like Christian, what do you call it, like churches and such in Japan, but that's not like the religion there, right? Yeah, I thought like seppuku was practiced by samurai to avoid dishonor. Some traditionally viewed suicide particularly case. This is historically. Okay. The historical view has shifted significantly in modern Japan. We're going with AI here today. I'm not going to like run down this because I got a whole bunch of really spooky places to show you. So we're just going to AI this shit. However, the historical view has shifted significantly in modern Japan. Increased suicide rates and changing perceptions, a spike in suicide rates in the late 1990s and early 2000s contributed to a shift in how suicide was perceived. Medicalization of suicide. Suicide is increasingly viewed as a symptom of mental illness rather than a solely personal failing. This aligns with a more widespread understanding of the role of social and economic pressures in contributing to suicide. Efforts towards prevention. Factors contributing to high suicide. So it looks like, well, like up here, they say historically, seppuku is to avoid dishonor, and then suicide of resolve. Some traditionally view suicide as an act of individual freedom or moral responsible action to restore one's social standing. Wow, that's intense. Okay, so nowadays they're like, no, we probably shouldn't celebrate it because it's a fucking issue. Well, that's good. That's probably a healthier view on it, yeah. Factors contributing to high suicide rate in Japan: economic pressures, social isolation. That was economic pressures. That's what I've always heard. Like, what is it, work to life ratio or what have you? Maybe that's not it. Academic and social pressures and cultural factors. Okay, all right. I was just curious. Moving on. I don't know if you can even talk about that shit on Twitch, but I'm a small enough streamer that I can talk about that and nobody's gonna like get me banned because nobody watches. So I can at least hop in there and look up some of this information when it behooves me. I don't have to be like, oh fuck, can I look this up live on stream? Okay, should people visit the Aokigahara Forest? Regardless of belief systems, travelers should always remain respectful when visiting places that have a dark history and deep cultural significance. This was made abundantly clear. Oh, they're going to talk about Logan Paul being a bit of a dick. Security cameras have been installed at the entrance to the forest to keep track of who comes and goes to curb suicidal or disagreeable behavior. Considerations for global mental health is also made clear at the entrance of the forest, where a sign expresses how visitors should reflect upon the importance and value of life. Oh, that's nice. Well, okay, so there you go. This is Suicide Forests. Pretty self-explanatory. Didn't want to spend a whole lot of time on this. We are going to watch a video about the ghosts of Suicide Forest, specifically what kind of ghost stories might be lurking around in that forest. But didn't need to dive too deep into it because this is something that I think most people have at least heard about at one point or another in their life. It is a very beautiful forest, and that's a really crazy fucking history. Like, I don't know, I still don't quite understand why people go to this forest. Why do people commit suicide in the Aokigahara Forest? Gahara. Damn it, Gahara. Shit, I thought I was saying it right. Aokigahara Forest. I was so fucking close, too. I was so proud of myself. I was like, you finally got a fucking Japanese word right, bro. And I fucked it up. I just realized. Okay. The Aokigahara Forest, also known as the Sea of Trees, unfortunately gained a reputation as a frequent site for suicides. The reason behind this are complex and multifaceted, drawing on a combination of historical, cultural, and psychological factors. So, possible contributing factors: historical associations with suicide. Some historical accounts suggest that Aokigahara may have been a location for Sokushin Butsu, a macabre practice by certain Buddhist monks where they would engage in extreme self-denial and meditation, culminating in death. Ooh, that's an interesting. I'm gonna have to write that down. That would be a good topic for a real nasty, terrifying Tuesday. Yeah, I'm gonna have to hold on. Give me a second to get that word recorded because that's a big one. I'm definitely not gonna remember how to spell that. Stream topics. Terrifying Tuesday. Okay. Soku Shin Butsu. Okay. Gonna look that up later. That's awesome. So, this is where monks would go to engage in this really disturbing practice. Oh, so while the exact link is debated, the historical connection to a form of ritual suicide might have influenced perceptions of the forest as a suitable location Okay, cultural factors and social isolation. Japan has one of the highest rates in the world, with various factors contributing to this, including economic anxieties and stigma surrounding mental health issues. Aokigahara's secluded environment might offer a sense of anonymity and avoid the potential shame. Ah, okay, I think I've heard that before. It's more of a pause. My phone just decided to bleep out on me. So it's more of like, I think I've heard that before. It's where they can go and like nobody's gonna shame them. And then the shared place phenomenon. Some researchers suggest that people might choose Aokigahara because they believe they can die successfully without being noticed and perhaps even share the same place with others and belong to the same group. Oh, interesting. Influence of media and literature. The Forest Association may have been amplified by media reports and popular culture, like the novel Nami no To, Tower of Waves, published in 1961. Okay. Wow. So it's just, yeah, a combination of sort of like it's a social thing now, the shared place phenomenon, media and literature bumped those numbers up, cultural isolation away from the whole hustle and bustle. And I mean, it is peaceful, right? Look at it. Like if you had to choose where you wanted to go out, you know, you want to go out in a peaceful place, right? I wouldn't want to be alone going out in that forest. That it looks spooky as hell. But you know, I would probably prefer to just go out in my living room in front of my television, right? That way, if I die and my ghost comes back, I get to watch an 85-inch flat screen TV for the rest of my life or the rest of eternity. So I would choose that over a forest probably. But that's my modern American consumerism talking. Okay, let's go ahead and check on this video here. I got a video, and we're not going to watch the full 8 minutes, but like 6 minutes or so worth of the actual ghost stories in the suicide forest. Plus, I also wanted to throw the video down because it gives us more really pretty pictures because it is very beautiful. I don't know about you, but if I went to Japan, I would want to visit this place. I would just want to see it because it looks very beautiful too. I mean, it is stunning. So let's throw this up, pop over to the YouTube screen. All right, and yeah, let's hear about some of these ghost stories in the suicide forest.
Start this little hike. Aokigahara, or in English, the Sea of Trees, which is located on the northwestern side of Mount Fuji on the island of Honshu in Japan, is a dense forest preserve recognized for its fascinating history, its dark ties to death, and for its spine-tingling assortment of associated native legends and classic ghost stories. Historically, Mount Fuji, which has witnessed multiple eruptions, would blow its top again in the year 864 CE, resulting in massive lava flows which would harden into beds of rock and obsidian on the northwestern end across the very same expanse that now holds Aokigahara. Over time, the forces of nature would cover this bed in soil, and life, which always seems to find a way, would scatter seeds across the region, resulting in a dense thicket of trees, foliage, and woodland growth. Early into Japan's cultural history, Aokigahara would become recognized as a place where end-of-life proceedings were conducted, and eventually, Buddhist monks would adapt a ritual during which they would enter the forest, find what they deemed a perfect location, and would literally meditate until they starved to death, resulting in their bodies lingering in place and basically mummifying, possibly.
That's crazy. Okay, so that's what that whole Shinu Butsu dealio was. Meditating until you die. I meditated this morning. For like 10 minutes and it was rough. It was a very long 10 minutes. I just got back into meditating. I used to meditate for 20 to 30 minutes a day and I was like a beast at it. I was about half a fucking Shaolin monk, man. But today I went 10 minutes and it was a very long, very brutal 10 minutes. These motherfuckers go till they're dead. That's crazy. I mean, that's determination, right? That's commitment to something.
One of the earliest and most well-documented instances of this practice occurred in 1340 when a monk named Shokai entered a cave within the forest and began his ritual fast, believing that his sacrifice would liberate his people from karmic transgressions. Incidentally, Shokai's death format would inspire a number of sacred pilgrimages, both that were in search of life and fate. And later, the passing of another monk named Moroku would follow suit, with the man fasting until he met his own demise. While more notable suicides within Aokigahara are fairly well documented through the Sengoku Jidai or Warring States period, which occurred from 1467 to 1603, the Expanse would also act as a place where countless members of the peasant class, who at the time were overworked and underfed, would take their elderly, or in some cases their young, to sacrifice them in hopes of encouraging their spirits to find true rest and pacification amongst the astounding beauty and serenity of nature. More recently, the 19th century would culturize this practice of what was then called Ubasute, marking another dark era in which food and resources were scarce. Ubasute was an act in which poor citizens would take their elderly to the area of Mount Fuji, and more specifically to Aokigahara, to die. The suicide forest would only grow more wildly in infamy and pop culture.
God, that's rough, man. Jeez. Do you hear stories like that where you're so impoverished that that's where you have to take your elderly to die? And it makes you feel lucky to be in this day and age, right? Where I can wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning, get me some good old fashioned chemicals combined with my Folgers coffee, sit and eat some gobstoppers and do a live stream, man. Like, that's craziness. I mean, that's a lot of bad juju for one forest, too. Right there, just those two stories alone is enough to be like, yeah, that place is probably haunted. But it continues. We got a whole nother 5 minutes of this.
Culture in 1960 when author Saicho Matsumoto released his renowned novels Kuroi Jukai, or The Black Sea of Trees, and Nami no Tao, or The Tower of Waves, in which the heroine takes one final trek into the woodlands to end her own life. Following an overwhelming response through the 1970s and onward, Matsumoto's books would be adapted for television numerous times, and in 1993, another author, Wataru Surumi, would write a self-help book called The Complete Suicide Manual, in which he would label Aokigahara as quite simply the most
Wow. The Complete Suicide Manual, a self-help book. That's crazy. I didn't think I'd ever hear that, but there you go. That one didn't make my self-help book list. We just had the end of my self-help book list. I did my 4 top favorite self-help books yesterday. So, and then at another video, I think it was last month, where I did my another 4, like my top 8 favorite self-help books. And that one, just so you're aware, wasn't anywhere in there. But I almost feel like I need to write that down too and check that out, because that's crazy. Geesh.
perfect place to die. In our modern era, the Suicide Forest has grown both in fame and as a tourist destination, and has been featured in a number of scary movies, blogs, dark tourism videos, and, as previously mentioned, in some crude YouTube content that sparked massive controversy. Despite its rather ominous aura, the landscapes within Aokigahara, as you can see here, are absolutely gorgeous, and also draw in travelers, hikers, nature enthusiasts, and even
That's so beautiful. I don't even really know what the fuck's going on there. Like, is that rocks coming, or those trees? Like, I don't know, but it's really pretty.
spelunkers looking to enjoy its many caverns. Not surprisingly, the mysterious and foreboding expanse of Aokigahara has long been surrounded by chilling stories of otherworldly encounters within, and those who have braved its bounds have told of disembodied footsteps, voices, prayer chants, and singing, of extreme cold patches that are even felt through the summer months, and of odd orbs of light that flit and fly between the trees, and that sometimes stalk lone walkers. A rather prominent aspect of Aokigahara tells of curse or ritual sites located within the Suicide Forest. Incidentally, it's believed that in their final moments and out of contempt, some preparing to depart our world might also desire to leave a curse upon it, and those who have risked nearing said sites have reported feeling sick, dizzy, or experiencing bouts of bad luck and downright terrifying paranormal activity for months or even years following. Several have reported instances of trails seemingly shifting, or of the forest itself moving in ways that confuses hikers or results in them getting lost, and other tales speak of mystical places within Aokigahara that are discovered only once and that can never again be relocated. One particularly creepy practice within the forest is for hikers, or tragically, some who are considering taking their own lives, to use rope, ribbon, or tape in order to create a trail back out of the forest and to avoid getting turned around in the dense woodlands. Disturbingly, many have reported wandering around for hours before coming to the terrifying realization that their trails were cleanly cut in half at some point, and Japanese folklore.
Yeah, so that is in that movie, The Forest. There's a whole part of that movie where girl goes to the forest. You know, I'm not going to ruin anything for you. No spoilers in case you haven't seen it. But the general premise of the movie is a girl goes to Aokigahara, American girl, to look for her sister who disappeared in the forest. And she brings a guide with her, and the guide, I believe it was like yellow ribbons that they tie around the trees. And a huge part of that movie is this shifting trees phenomenon. I actually forgot about that. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie. I might have to rewatch that and maybe check myself if it ended up actually being better than I remember, because sometimes that happens. But yeah, that was a huge plot point in the movie. So
dictates these instances of severance may be a result of the influence of a demon attempting to destroy their intended victim's hope. Some of the most infamous accounts of encounters with spirits within the suicide forest tell of run-ins with Yurei, a Japanese folklore ghost which is pretty much a restless or tortured soul trapped between Earth and the afterlife. It often manifests as an eerie, pale being with long black hair and that's clad in white. Various terrifying accounts.
Oh god, fucking Grudge Girl shit. I can't do the Grudge Girls. All the scary movies that I watch, I love scary movies, but I'm no on the Grudge Girl.
Tell of times when those visiting the forest are stalked by Yurei at great lengths, and several more disturbing instances involve these ghastly creatures attaching themselves to unsuspecting victims and literally following them out of the forest and back to their homes. Also reported throughout Aokigahara are a range of apparitions spanning the centuries, some of which bear marks or other characteristics related to their own suicides, phantom bodies that are sighted hanging from trees, and a bizarre phenomenon in which visitors leaving the forest realize that a surprising amount of time, in some case days or weeks, has passed. But it's not just the forest itself that harbors supernatural happenings, and inside Aokigahara's previously mentioned cave systems, spelunkers have documented whispers heard through the pitch black, instances of millennia-old caverns seemingly changing to confuse or trap their visitors, and encounters with various apparitions that appear only for moments before fading away into the darkness. Lastly, and confined to no area in particular, within the forest, many have told of mysterious and unnatural shrieks, growls, or screams, as well as the inexplicable feelings of depression or utter despair. And in a 2000 article by the New Zealand Herald, Buddhist monk Kiyomiya Fukai theorized in his own words that the spirits are calling people in to kill themselves. Whether it's one of Aokigahara's many restless spirits, the strange compulsion it holds over mortality, or actual demonic activity, the Suicide Forest is a beautiful yet treacherous place that sits right on the boundary between our world and the next.
Okay, we'll end it there, because then he's got a little intro. That was Fright Night is the name of that channel. They get pretty decent numbers over there, a lot better than me. Give them a like and subscribe if you like that video. I thought they did a good job. I'm not a particularly huge fan of the kind of upspeak at the end of every sentence, right? There's a few YouTube channels that do that, and I can't tell if they're purposely doing that, or like it's a thing that other people enjoy, or if it's just a way that people talk, like an accent, right? And then with this like this, and then he talks like this, and then in every other word, the sentence ends like this, and then the Akigahara forest, and I'm not sure if that's like a thing people actually just do and they don't realize, or if that's like a YouTube thing. I've never met anybody that talks like that. And when I first hear it, it can get on my nerves, but after a while, I get over it. Anyways, that's pretty crazy. That's a lot of fucking ghostly shit happen in one spot, right? I mean, people getting followed by these Yuris, whatever it is. Yeah. Oh, hey, Cutie Pie, what's going on? Thanks for hopping in. Did you get any breakfast? You already back down in the downstairs bedroom, getting back to crocheting? No. Oh, you got to get yourself some breakfast. Oh, just coffee. Okay. Well, coffee is a good start. But thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I don't like that upspeak thing neither. After I've listened to it for 5 minutes on a video, I can get over it and it's fine. It's whatever. But I can't sit and do that shit all day. Back to crocheting again. Oh, you're so sweet. My number one fan there. You crocheting Bundy sweater next? I got my volume up too high. Yeah, so, well, in any case, yeah. Thank you for watching the stream. As always, Cutie Pie. You're my number one fan. And yeah, it always sounds like they're asking a question even when they're making a statement. Oh no. So it's not addictive. What's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, I starts with a C. Like a disease is you can fuck. What is the word? Not infectious. It's contagious. Thank God, Jesus. I don't know what the deal is. Yeah, I couldn't. Don't know why I couldn't think of that word. Like, oh, thank you, cutie. I'm glad you're here. If you weren't here, I would be lost. So yeah, so it's a contagious fucking accent, is what it is, huh? That's spooky. That's horrible. That's almost that's more scary than the fucking Suicide Forest. Fuck. I don't know. I'd rather go check out the Suicide Forest than be stuck with that upspeak accent for the rest of my life. But still, though, if we went to Japan, hot stuff, would you go check out the Aokigahara Forest with me? I think that would be fun. I mean, it looks so fucking pretty, but it is crazy the amount of spooky ass stories they have in that forest, right? Like, I mean, shit, all not just the people killing themselves there and like the monks and shit is that's enough for me, right? But they got like demons. Did you hear that Yuri part where they get like grudge girls that follow people home? Like, fuck that shit, right? Oof. I don't know about that. But and then the forest shifts and moves around people. People get lost because of it. Yeah, that's some pretty crazy ass shit, man. For one place in Japan, right, has pretty much everything you could be scared of in there, right? You know what I mean? Just now throw in people with upspeak accents and it's over with. Now there's everything you need to be afraid of in that forest. Yeah, me too. That's what I said when I was watching the video. I was like, yeah, anything that has to do with the grudge, fuck that shit. You know, and I don't have anything about the grudge, but later in the stream, we do got something in that vein. I saved the best for last, so we'll go over it for sure. But that right now, that's the Suicide Forest. So a lot of people already know about that one. You know, it's a pretty common one. Whenever anybody talks about haunted areas of Japan, Suicide Forest is always going to be, or the Aokigahara Forest is always going to be up there. Because I mean, they have movies made about it. It's famous for very unfortunate and obvious reasons. This next one though is a little less famous. The Sunshine 60, right here. Let's pull up a picture of the Sunshine 60. So Sunshine 60 is this big ass skyscraper right here. It was at one point the biggest skyscraper in Japan. It isn't anymore, and that's because they've built bigger skyscrapers. It didn't like fall down or anything, right? You would think like, ooh, so did it like collapse and everybody passed away inside? Like, no, not even. It's still there. And that's it. The Sunshine 60 is what that's called. And with such a pretty name, you think, oh, well, what could be wrong? Well, let me tell you. The Sunshine 60 is a 60-story skyscraper in Ikebukuro. I think Ikebukuro. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. It was the tallest building in Japan from 1978 until 1991. Prime Minister Hideki Dojo in 1971, oh, I don't know why I just randomly threw that in there. In 1971, the prison was closed. Okay, we're just like hopping over here around random shit. Let's jump over that first paragraph. So, Sunshine 60 sits on land formerly occupied by Japan's most infamous prison, Sugamo Prison. Sugamo Prison was constructed from the ground up to hold political prisoners. From the 1920s to 1945, it held anarchists, communists, dissidents, and prisoners of war. Under the American occupation of Japan, it held around 2,000 Japanese war criminals, including the former Prime Minister Hideki Jojo. There, see, they just completely copied the end of that paragraph up to the front. That top, that's what happened. In 1971, the prison was closed. A few short years later, the construction of a massive office and shopping complex began at the site. Planners were well aware that the reputation of the prison might spark urban legends about the new building, so they gave it a cheery name. They called it the Sunshine 60, which is kind of cool, right? To see something so spooky, and we'll get into why it's spooky here in a minute. It isn't just the history of it, which we'll get into that a teeny weeny bit too. But I don't know why, but I fucking love it when you got something really spooky and it's got like this cheery ass name, you know, like butterflies or Sunshine 60 or fucking rainbows. It's like, and then it turns out to be this like horrendous place where like people have been like tortured and murdered. I don't know why, but I think that's hilarious and spooky. It just kind of adds to it. It wasn't long after its opening day that rumors circulated that the building was haunted. It's the only skyscraper of its size that's considered haunted. The legends will no doubt intensify as the building continues to age. So let's see. That's just talks about the city. It was kind of meant to be a city within a city. The whole area surrounding Sunshine 60 is a giant shopping complex that supposedly is really nice from what I read on Reddit. People who have been to it said, yeah, it's super nice. But let's read a little bit about the history of the Sunshine 60. Yeah. So the haunted Sunshine 60 building, located. Go on. It's not a stream unless I get a hairball somewhere in the middle of it. Okay. Located in Tokyo, Japan, the Sunshine 60 building was once the tallest structure in Tokyo. It stretches nearly 750 feet in height and took between 1973 and 1978 to complete. The structure houses many corporate and business offices, a bank, a daycare, and even a post office. The building also housed ghosts, most of which seemed to be very unpleasant. You see, the Sunshine 60 building was built on the exact site of the infamous Sagamo prison. This structure was built in the 1890s, and served as a political prison for those seen as enemies of the emperor. By the time of World War II, it was used to house suspected spies, many of whom were tortured and executed. Oddly, Sagamo was never destroyed in many Allied bombings. After the war and subsequent occupation, that's America occupying Japan, right? We have our forces over there on their land. Sagamo was used to house many high-ranking Imperial Japan figures, including Hideko Jojo. He and 6 others were executed by hanging after being found guilty of war crimes. The prison was torn down in 1971. But after the grand opening of Sunshine 60, reports were made of strange and often scary things happening. Surveillance cameras and security guards often reported shadowy figures walking the halls and even taking elevators to various floors. These figures are often seen entering and exiting the elevators. I like how it just has random words in quotes like seen. These figures were often seen. I feel like the person who wrote this didn't understand how to use quotes. People report items taken from their desk or moved around. Ooh, what could that possibly mean? Moved around. Windows break, doors lock, and are unable to be opened. All of this is common. People also report being pushed by unseen hands and even slapped. Another common phenomenon happens when one reaches the basement of the massive building. Cold spots are common, as is the unmistakable odor of decay when no source exists. Many paranormal investigations have been carried out. Most agree that the presences are felt. I don't think that presences is a word, is it? The presences. The presence are felt the presence felt are former prisoners. Goddamn. I don't know what I ate today, but it's getting stuck in my throat. Both confused and angry over the eternal predicament. I don't know what that means, just being dead? Religious rituals have even been performed as a means of putting any spirits to rest. While some felt this worked for some of those trapped, several very angry spirits are still felt. Some feel these are the ghosts of Tojo and former propagandist Tokyo Rose, who too was detained inside Sagamo for a period of time and said to have been treated poorly by Allied guards. So there you have it. They took down a very famous prison, infamous prison, I guess is a better word, used specifically for housing, first for like almost 100 years, used to house all different manner of dissidents against the Imperial Japan. And then when America came in and occupied this section of land in Japan, we used it to house, the American government used it to house Japanese imperialists who were convicted of war crimes, of which they hanged numerous of them. And then Japan, when Allied forces left, Japan dropped the building and put up a skyscraper and called it Sunshine 60. And that turned into a very haunted place. Now, we're not going to dive into this particular article, but I am going to link it in the description for anybody who's interested. The Imperial Ghost in the Neoliberal Machine, figuring the CIA. I'm not sure if figuring the CIA, what exactly that means, but it's a really crazy article. It goes really deep into the lore behind Sunshine 60. It goes into the entire history, which is why we're not going to read it because it is so filled. I read it last night before the stream and seriously debated, like, well, maybe I should read this because it is really interesting history. Turns out, like everything in this world that gets fucked up, the CIA was somehow involved. And they were definitely involved with the Sunshine 60. Somewhere around the time, long story short, to just kind of keep it brief for you guys, is sometime around the 1950s, the CIA realized that Japan would be a much better ally than us, like attempting to, I don't know, take over the entire country or like what's the word, continue to occupy the country. Instead, Japan had a very long history of not liking communists. And in fact, a lot of the original people who were thrown into the Sunshine 60 prison or the what do they call it? Sugamato prison or whatever. We're going to call it the Sunshine 60 prison because it makes it sound happier. A lot of the original prisoners in Sunshine 60 were communist leaders. And so the Japanese no-go on that front. After the, Nazi Germany fell, Soviet Union gained a lot of power, and then America and the Soviet Union entered into a Cold War, capitalism against communism. And then, of course, that's when, America was like, hey, Japan, we're real sorry about that whole bombing thing, and they're like, yeah, we feel pretty bad about the whole Pearl Harbor thing. And we're like, let's bump fists and let's go fight the commies. And they were like, deal, let's do that. And now, for the record, I think there was a period of time here, you'd have to dive into this article. This article is really extensive, but they dive into how Japan became fairly fascist and the CIA helped the more imperialist fascist era of Japan to come into fruition. And that's where Sunshine 60 became a thing. And so, anyways, yeah, lots of history in this article. I'll definitely link it for those who are interested, like their messed up history. But most of this just has to do with what the CIA was doing in Japan and how they helped the building of this prison and then the later breaking it down and building of the Sunshine 60, right? So, but that is quite a bit to go over on one stream. I still got 6-7 different places that I want to hit. So I'm just going to link that in the description for anybody who's interested in reading more about it. For those of you that like your history, it is a really good read. And as spoiler alert, not that crazy of a spoiler alert, the CIAs end up being the bad guys, almost as always. So anyways, that one was really cool. It's not much to look at. That's the only reason why we're moving quick away from it, is because there isn't any distinct specific stories in the Sunshine 60. Like nobody has come out and shared some terrifying aspect of it. It's just a lot of people saying, yeah, we get shadowy figures that like to lock doors. And then, the basement smells like shit and we can't figure out why. Things like that. And it's not really a whole lot to look at. I mean, it's a very, in and of itself, it is almost like half brutalist architecture, right? It has its own kind of Soviet feel to it. Yeah, just being a big giant concrete building. So, but it is very interesting. The fact that it's called Sunshine 60 and its history is so morbid really gets me. I love that. So, anyways, we're going to move on to the Inunaki Tunnel. Now we're getting into the stuff where if you don't live in Japan, you're probably not going to hear about a lot of this shit. This is local legend type stuff. This isn't stuff that you're going to see a lot of movies about, right? Nobody's going to make a movie about the Sunshine 60. And as far as I'm aware, nobody's made a movie about the Inunaki Tunnel. Although it did look like they, there's so many pictures of it. It looked like they almost had like, it's been mentioned in some kind of manga out there, right? Some kind of manga has either been made about or briefly talked about the Inunaki Tunnel, but we're going to talk about it today. So, what is the Inunaki Tunnel? The Inunaki Tunnel, or more precisely, Old Inunaki Tunnel, is a tunnel that is located between Miyawaka City and Hisayama Town. I appreciate how much easier Japanese words are to say than like French words. If I have to do any stream with French in it, I'm so fucked. But I can at least slowly sound my way through a Japanese word and be like, oh, hey, that makes sense. Okay. The Hisayama town, both in Fukuoka Prefecture of Japan. This tunnel has been discussed since 1975 after the completion of the new Inunaki Tunnel, which is currently used on a daily basis. Since the old tunnel was disused, it has been famous locally in the Fukuoka as a haunted place. It has been nationally known as one of the most haunted places now since a number of incidents have occurred in the area, including a horrific murder, which we will get into now. The history of the Inunaki Tunnel. So, it opened in 1949. The old Inunaki Tunnel was opened in 1949, not long after the Second World War. The tunnel was located on the shortest route between Fukuoka City and Yushu City, the two largest cities in that prefecture, and therefore attracted a lot of traffic. The old tunnel was no longer used due to the opening of the new tunnel in 1975. It is said that for some time afterwards, it was possible to reach the old tunnel. However, the road to the old tunnel was closed by a fence because of some illegal dumping of oversized rubbish in the area and the fact that it had become a hangout spot for local biker gangs, the Bosao Soku. Don't know how to say that word. Bosu Soku. But biker gangs is what that translates into, roughly. So, I didn't know they had biker gangs in Japan. I guess that figures. You know, they have biker gangs everywhere, I guess. Up until this point, 1975, nothing bad's happened here, though. It's just a tunnel. People drive through it all the motherfucking time, and it ain't no big deal. They just made a new one, and then people started dumping trash in the old one, and they said, you fucking people, stop. And then they put a fence around it. And that's it. Until 1988. An incident occurred on the disused road leading to the old Inunaki Tunnel. A 20-year-old young man, let's call him Akun, was driving home after work that day. A delinquent boy, let's call him B, who was an acquaintance of A, demanded that he lend him and his friends his car, almost as a threat. B was angry after A's refusal, then punched, kicked, and otherwise violently assaulted A. Seeing A's face deformed and covered in blood, B came to the unlikely conclusion that he should kill A because he might talk to the police about it all. Okay, so he beat his ass because he's a jerk, and then he said, oh, I should probably kill him now. You know, nobody said criminals were smart, you know. There was an idea to drown him in the Rikamaru Dam in the mountains, but they decided against it, as the body might float in the water and be discovered. In the end, it was decided to burn the body in petrol until it was no longer recognizable. Ooh. The site chosen was the old road leading to the old Inunaki Tunnel. This area was usually closed and therefore not usually visited by people. A was eventually burnt alive to death. I love that phrasing. Burnt alive to death. Shit. Okay. Hold on. I got to burp. Of course I got to burp. Wouldn't be a stream if I didn't at least choke on absolutely nothing once and then burp 5 or 6 different times. As the brutality of the group and the method of killing was by burning, the incident was widely reported nationwide and attracted attention from all over Japan. So yeah, that's a real nasty way to go out. Real bunch of dickheads, B was, him and his friends. Bunch of assheads. Bunch of total asshats, these guys. Just burning motherfuckers alive. And so that happened in 1988, right? That was a year before I was born. So after that, there are more visitors and a chain of misfortunes. The 1988 tragedy brought even more people to the Inunaki Tunnel, which was locally famous for being a haunted place to begin with, right? Okay, well, that's interesting because they didn't say anything about that before. I didn't read a whole lot more on this, but from everything I read, the 1988 tragedy, the killing of this young man, was what initially set off the idea of, oh shit, this place is haunted. Like, because this dude that is a thing in Japan culturally when people die. I mean, you know, you've seen The Grudge, so that's how it goes, right? You die a very violent death. The assumption is your soul is going to be pissed off about that. It's going to take that personally, and it's going to haunt some motherfuckers to kind of get even, yeah. So that particular murder was considered a big deal in that time in Japan. They said, oh, fuck, some ghostly shit's about to go down after that. Yeah. So, 2 more cases of visitors being killed or seriously injured in car accidents occurred in 1992 and in 2001. With the spread of the internet, many scary stories have been posted about people who have actually visited the area. The combination of physical and supernatural fears has led to Inunaki Tunnel being called the scariest place in Japan. That's pretty scary, but there's an extra aspect to this whole Inunaki Tunnel. It isn't just, people getting murdered there and then people being like, oh shit, ghosts and shit. The Inunaki Village, an urban legend surrounding the Inunaki Tunnel. Now, we're not going to read about it. Instead, we're going to have Bored Panda. I like the name, Bored Panda. We're going to have Bored Panda discuss this with you. Let me throw you over to the YouTube screen. I like that hat. That's a dope hat. Okay. And this is just a short video, 2 minutes, 50 seconds. This is the urban legend of the Inunaki Tunnel.
Jay, and today I want to share with you a rather mysterious story about something I recently read about. It is an old urban legend of Japan telling us...
What accent is that? Is that Swedish? No, of Japan. Is that German or Swedish? I don't know. I can't tell.
...a tale about Inunaki.
I'm not up on my hipster accents, so I don't know why it just...
Village.
Okay.
A strange place with a very cruel history. It is said that at the entrance of the village there is a notice board which reads, "Japanese regulations and constitutions do not apply here." What does that mean, you may ask, and here is the answer. The village was famous for practicing cannibalism, incest, and killing. Today, Inunaki village is empty. Rumor has it, a young man once killed almost everybody in the village with an axe or a pistol. I guess this is what happens when killing is legal and you have a bad day. Another theory says that all the village...
I feel like I'm sure that's a girl. I'm not sure entirely. I'm like 80% positive that's a girl, right? But in any case, the jokes are even made funnier with the accent. That accent just makes the jokes even more hilarious, in my humble opinion.
Bad day. Another theory says that all the villagers died from some kind of plague and their corpses are still rotting inside the village. Well, I guess nobody can check on that, because whoever went into the village, nobody came back. By the way, Inunaki literally translates to dog's bark. There is a story about a dog that was killed by its owner just because it kept barking too much. The same night, he and his family were killed by a black dragon. And the poor dog, it just wanted to warn them about the upcoming danger. Now, if you're wondering...
Yeah, well, that's what's supposed to happen to people who kill dogs, fuckers. Okay, hold on. She said Inunaki. Inunaki translates to dog bark. We're going to sleuth around a teeny tiny bit. Inunaki. Well, we're not going to get anything from Bing. They're confused about some kind of anime. Okay. Japanese translator to English. That's what we need. Okay. Nope. Japanese to English. Okay, there we go. Inunaki. That's it. That's what it translates into. It just translates into Inunaki. Okay. Oh, we don't need to translate it into English. We need to know what it actually means. But, okay, that might take me a little bit too long to do. I'm not that interested in it. That would be interesting if it actually means dog bark. Might sleuth about it later, see what happens. But let's go back to this story. So we have this supposed village at the end of the Inunaki Tunnel where they have no laws that apply there. Like Japanese laws don't apply. So motherfuckers, try it the other way. Okay, I will try it the other way. Let's give it a shot, see what happens here. English to Japanese translator. Inunaki. Yep, it just goes, okay, I get it. Get out the way. Anunnakis. Yeah, see, it just translates in Anunnaki. What does Anunnaki mean in Japanese? Oh, type in dog bark. Oh, good idea, cutie. Dog bark in Japanese. Wan wan. In Japanese, the sound of a dog's bark is wan wan, which is an onomatopoeia. The term is used to describe a general dog bark. There are also sounds used to describe different types of barks and yelps, like kyan kyan for a fearful yelp or kun for one. Man, I am coughing up a storm today. I don't know what the fuck. Must have swallowed a fucking hairball. But dog bark. Inu non. Oh, here we go. English dog bark. Japanese Inu non. No more down. What do you mean? Like this, right? Yeah, that's what you mean. Yeah. Inu non knock. So it kind of sounds like it, but it's a word that sounds similar, but it's not the same. It's not Inunnaki, it's Inunnaki go. So it's close. Good idea though, Cutie Pie. I appreciate that. Thank you. So yeah, it's close, but no Sagaro. Yep. How dogs bark in Japan. How dogs bark in Japanese. Okay, well, there you have it. So Inunnaki doesn't mean dog bark. Inunnaki go, which is really close. Easy mistake to make. They're, probably easier to mistake if you're in Switzerland or wherever this person's from. But anyway, let's go ahead and continue with the Anunnaki or dog bark tunnel. I do like that though. I am going to start calling it dog bark tunnel.
Wondering what a black dragon is, like I was when I heard it for the first time? I even tried Googling in the second page of Google, where you find yourself in really, really desperate times, and found no answers. However, my theory is that Black Dragon might be somebody from the Black Dragon Society that was already active at the time in Japan. The truth is, Inunaki Village is an urban legend, and we all know that legends are only half true. The village does really exist, and it actually fell under a jurisdiction of a clan named Kuroda a few centuries ago. Kuroda. I have no idea how to pronounce that. It was a long time ago. However, the flood struck them in 1959 and did quite a lot of damage, especially around the village cemetery. It is strongly believed to this day that 2 of the graves that were damaged in the cemetery were cursed. Doesn't sound good, does it? And this, folks, is the story of Inunaki Village. Which story is the real one, and which one do you prefer to believe? I myself am simply fascinated how a random village, maybe a completely innocent one, received such a cruel reputation and became a legend. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for the next week's topic. I am your host AJ, and I'll see you next week.
Okay, well, there you have it. Give that a like. That was a good video. So, Bored Panda, never heard of that one. Anyways, yeah, so there's a story of the Inunaki Village. It's an urban legend. They don't know, apparently, which one's true. But, I mean, even if it didn't have all the fucked up shit happening... Here, let me pop back over here. Just in time for me to burp. Even if all that more fucked up shit didn't happen, like, there wasn't, like, a whole bunch of, like, incest and murder and shit happening in that village, which it sounds like there probably wasn't. It's still fucked up that they came in there, done fucked it all up, the feds or whoever, messed with their graveyard. That probably has something to do with it. But yeah, so the urban legend is the Inunaki Tunnel leads to this village, which is incredibly haunted because everybody got murdered there in some horrific way, or just because the feds went in and fucked with their graveyard and pissed off a bunch of spirits. Either way, the town supposedly is abandoned. It's still there, but it's so old, nobody lives there anymore. Which makes it even creepier, right? Like, you got a creepy-ass tunnel where a dude has been murdered in that leads to a creepy-ass village with a creepy-ass graveyard where potentially a lot of other people were murdered for some reason or another. And some of those people who were murdered might have been really, really bad people that did some fucked up shit when they were alive too. So it's just a whole clusterfuck of bad shit happening over there, right? So definitely puts it on the list for the top scariest haunted places in Japan. I'm going to need to get another coffee here soon, especially if I'm going to keep coughing up hairballs on stream. Anyways, there's the Inunaki Tunnel and the Inunaki Village. We're going to keep going. We're going to hop next to the Round School. So Round School has some disturbing history. Here's some pictures of it. Is there a slideshow happening? Oh, there is. Nice. Makes my life so much easier. Okay, here's a slideshow of the Round School. Okay, this was once a school. It clearly isn't anymore. But that's pretty spooky. And abandoned buildings covered, with swamp. Like swamp now just kind of flooded the whole building. It's spooky enough, yeah. But there's a real spooky history to this place too. Yeah, it ain't just a really fucking spooky ass building surrounded by swamp water or whatever the hell's going on there. But yeah, that's pretty spooky. Spooky enough that whoever took these pictures didn't want to go inside. They're like, fuck that. We'll just take some nice pictures from the outside. The fact that the trees have overgrown it, and there's a Gijima-gadget. Spooky. So, the fact that all the trees have like grown around it, and then you have swamp water or whatever just circling it, the whole thing looks so fucking spooky. I don't know what is with the Gijima-gadget, why the photographer is so focused on that. But yeah, it's definitely a spooky sight. There's a car. Not driving that car anywhere. That was probably my car from high school. Looks like that. So yeah, flooded. Probably don't want to go in there. They have crocodiles in Asia. Anything in that water that could bite you while you're walking in it. I don't do creatures in water. Fuck that shit. I don't know what that's supposed to be. Is that goop? That's just goop. I don't know what that is. A shell of like a barn or something close by. Oh, it's like a burnt down house. It's just the metal frame of a building. That's not as scary. The school is scarier. And it gets even scarier when we read about it. So let's do that. This is a really short one, too. And then we got a video of a guy who actually goes there. This guy right here. The video here. I don't know if it's the same photographer that went in there, but a guy who visits the school. So we're going to watch that here in a minute. So the Round School is a classic urbex location in Japan and probably the most unusual school in the whole country. What looks like an old, abandoned, partly demolished industrial complex in the forest is actually a legendary school. Famous among urbexers. I don't know what an urbexer is. Urbex. Let's type that in. What is an urbex? Urban explorer. Oh, okay. There you go. You learn something new every day. So, let's see. Industrial complex. So, is actually in the forest is actually a legendary school famous among urbexers or urban explorers, even when I started back in 2009. So this guy is an urbexer. Built in 1958 and partly raised about 20 years later, this old school dates back to 1906, went through several name changes, and said rebuilt in the 50s, from wood to ferro concrete. Before it was closed in 1974, 2 years after a nearby mine, the reason this large school for more than 1,500 students was originally built. There is a 2 years after. Oh, so it got closed after the mine. Okay, I get what he's saying. All right, there was a lot of commas in that sentence. This whole thing is one giant sentence. That's a big ass sentence. There is little known about the wooden building, but the modern one consists of two round structures with almost 30 meters in diameter, 3 floors, 13 meters tall. A few years after the school was closed, the southwestern building was demolished, giving the remaining one even more the looks of an industrial ruins. In the past, the shutters visible on some photos actually opened to a connecting corridor. They weren't loading docks or something like that. Also, little is left of the nearby gymnasium. So that, I guess, the metal frame was the gymnasium. Almost 50 winters in total neglect left little more than the foundation and some bent iron. What makes the school visually even more interesting is the fact that the lower floor is almost half underwater all the time, making it difficult to enter from spring to late autumn. And the snow from late autumn to early spring makes the whole structure hard to access the rest of the time, though accessible because apparently the water freezes solid in the winter. Okay. I had the pleasure to explore this beautiful legend during a trip in early 2017. It was a rainy, damp day, the snow clearly not gone for long. The whole area was more or less slightly muddy, and as far as explorations go, this wasn't a pleasant one. Nevertheless, well worth the hassle, as around school is even more fascinating on location than in photos. It is surreal. Yeah, see, da 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 da. Yeah, this is just him talking about how disgusting the water is. And let's check out his video. Let's pop you over to the YouTube screen. Okay. So this is the exploration of the round school.
Beebi City was once known as a coal town, which produced millions of tons of coal. During its peak, its population even reached a whopping 30,000 residents. Unfortunately, ever since the mine closed in 1972, the city has suffered a slowly declining population. But that doesn't mean it's been totally...
I'm going to raise that volume up a little bit. Give me a second. Okay.
The city was once known as a coal town, which produced millions of tons of coal. During its peak, its population even reached a whopping 30,000 residents. Unfortunately, ever since the mine closed in 1972, the city has suffered a slowly declining population. But that doesn't mean it's been totally abandoned. Residents still reside there and continue to keep the area as well kept as possible. Anyway, education holds a special place in the city of Beebi, and not because of graduation rates or anything like that, but because of its infamous round schoolhouse. Yeah, sure, Beebi has normal schools.
Man, this guy talks so soft, but we're going to keep going. We're going to get through this. Thank goodness this video has subtitles.
Like it's Shoei High School and Sekai High School. It even has a school for special needs, which is pretty cool. But the round schoolhouse isn't like them, but is known for its haunting appearance and creepy forests surrounding it on all sides. Soon after the closing of the coal mines, the school closed down and the removal of the west and outer buildings began, leaving only a broken but creepy-looking gymnasium and east wing left to be devoured by the forest. Now, there are no recordings indicating that anything has ever happened in the school, but regardless, countless rumors and urban legends began to spring up. Locals of the town claimed that the forest surrounding the school was inhabited by mysterious lights, half-glimpsed shadow figures, and disembodied screams, which caused the area to quickly become a ghost hunting spot back in the 70s and 80s. Now, on one account, a group of paranormal investigators claimed to have encountered a shimmering patch in the school building, claiming the site to be an interdimensional portal. We stared at this glowing patch upon the wall for several moments, and that was when something seemed to come out of it. It looked like a hunched-over figure, but it was impossible to see the face. Then there were others, coming out two at a time, until they were looming all around us in the dank, confined space. My friend and I looked at each other and ran. He says he looked back and the glowing was gone, but those shadow shapes, they were everywhere. Which, I mean, sounds a little far-fetched, but you never know, right? Some of the most common legends that are told are the people that go in and disappear without a trace. And if they do ever come back, they come back completely insane. So, neither of those outcomes sound any good. Many Japanese spiritual mediums have reported to be so overwhelmed with negative energy that they refuse to go back. So, this is the location that leads up to the school. Well, this is all that Google Street View took me. Anyway, because of the closing of the school, the roads leading up to the school wasn't maintained, so it's become overgrown over the years. So, if you wish to visit the school, you have to park your car outside and hike the rest of the way into the forest. But honestly, it isn't that far. But people have had trouble getting in when it rained previously because of the flooding around the school. So be prepared if you want to visit yourself. Make sure to bring extra equipment, boots, and stuff like that. So this is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I've never...
Okay. Here, let me lower that volume back. right there. Okay. Well, what channel was this? Vale Cot. Yeah, that's a cool place, but need to do a little work on his sound there. Anyways, that's not here. We're gonna do a little bit more sleuthing. Balls. Okay. Round School Japan, because I actually read an article that had a whole history behind it. That guy said nothing spooky happened there, and that's not true. It wouldn't make our list if something freaky didn't happen there. So, school history. Round School, here we go. This was, nope, that's the one I was already at. Do, 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 do. Ooh, I like that song. That's a good song.
Hey guys, it's Tiny Simbuilds here, and welcome back to another episode of Sims 4 Real Lore.
Okay, here we go. We can get rid of this. This was a story I read. I must have saved the wrong web page. When you're running through and putting all these web pages together, sometimes it happens. It is what it is. There is supposedly actual history of this school that is fucked up. Otherwise, what would the point of it being haunted? Yeah. So this got a little section right here that tells us about it. So let's check it out.
Visited the site, note a very significant depression of the building itself. In other words, the foundation and the entire school has visibly sunken into the ground, which has led to its severe flooding and water damage that the structure still is experiencing to this very day. However, even with these possibilities, there is a strange and chilling mystery regarding a certain event that unfolded roughly in the early 1970s. Based on reports, an unnamed young girl who was attending the Round Schoolhouse suddenly vanished from the campus. Reportedly, the student went missing during a very brief period of recess, which stirred much worry and concern from staff members. As a result, the young girl's teacher called her family to ask if she had been taken out of school early. However, the young girl's family had not visited the elementary school that day, and to make matters worse, they had no idea of where their daughter could be. Local police were brought to the scene after the school staff was unable to locate the missing young girl. However, since then, there has been no trace of the missing student, or any leads as to possible suspects who could have taken her. To make matters even worse, the main island of Hokkaido reportedly experienced an increased amount of missing person cases at this time, which made the event more eerie and upsetting. To this day, an exact cause of the school's closing is not definite. It is possible that all of these factors played major roles in the school's decline. However, the case of the missing student has correlated to much of the unsettling and often paranormal activity that surrounds the defunct campus to this very day.
So yeah, we got to give that other YouTube channel a few marks down for not including the entire history. I was like, fuck, I totally know that I read about this. This school had a young girl that went disappeared from the school in the middle of recess, and nobody ever heard from her again, which is fucking spooky. Like, she either got kidnapped by someone in that area, or someone at the school, or just went wandering in the woods and got lost, and eventually potentially died because nobody heard from her again, or something spookier. There is, here's the spookier theory right here.
Day. In fact, some Japanese residents suggest that the young girl could have been literally spirited away. This term, known in Japanese as kamikakushi, explains that a human could be taken from the mortal realm by supernatural entities. Such entities are collectively referred to as yokai in Japanese mythology. Based on this lore, kamikakushi typically is a result of a human upsetting or angering spiritual beings or deities, suffering these consequences as a form of punishment. In other occurrences of kamikakushi, this may also be the work of darker, mischievous entities known as tengu. Tengu, which are often described as red humanoid beings with goblin and or bird-like qualities, have been viewed as both malevolent.
Look at that guy. That's one big ass nose. That's the freakiest thing about him. his nose and his shoes.
And benevolent beings. While some Tengu have been viewed as destructive demons, some Tengu have been viewed as respected protectors, assisting humans and serving as guardians of particular forests. This perspective brings an interesting connection to the case of the Round Schoolhouse and the missing young girl, given that the campus is surrounded by woods on all sides. This could suggest that the young girl had been spirited away by a Tengu, however the motives and/or reasons as to why are left to much speculation. Regardless of the cause, falling victim to Kamikakushi can entail an extended holding, indefinite captivity, or possibly even death. Hence, the term Kamikakushi literally translates to hidden by gods. Unfortunately, there is not any evidence to support this theory. However, these beliefs have been a part of Japanese culture for several generations. Furthermore, based on this lore, children are also not immune to the misfortune of Kamikakushi. Contrary to the more frightening outcomes of Kamikakushi, some say that the experience can sometimes unfold into a very fulfilling spiritual journey. One of the most popular tales in Japanese history tells an account from a profound Shinto scholar by the name of Hirata Atsutane, who lived from 1776 to 1843. As a brief overview, Hirata encountered a boy by the name of Torakichi, who claimed to have been spirited away by an elderly man with long white hair. Torakichi was roughly 7 years old at the time of his disappearance. His captor told Torakichi that he was never to reveal his identity, but based on his account, the man presented himself to be a powerful Tengu by the name of Sugiyama Sojo. While the boy endured harsh physical conditions under the care of the Tengu, the boy returned years later as a teenager, making his way back to the mortal realm. Reportedly, he had become extremely adept with various weapons, while also becoming a skilled martial artist. Torakichi was even able to practice magic while he was in the spirit realm itself, and upon returning to the mortal realm, also created several medicinal remedies. As a result of this tale, the scholar Hirata Atsutane was highly invested in the boy's accounts, and proceeded to document them for years based on Torakichi's reports. While Torakichi's tales depict Tengu Sugiyama Sojo as a powerful teacher, his accounts have been met with much skepticism. In popular culture, the belief in Kamikakushi has been explored by various Japanese films and manga. Most notably, Hayao Miyazaki's animated film Spirited Away describes.
Yeah, if they didn't bring that up, I was going to bring it up. That's an awesome fucking movie. Love that movie. We just watched that a few months ago, didn't we, Cutie Pie? That's such a good fucking movie.
The tale of a young girl named Chihiro. Unfortunately,
yeah, we don't need to hear about the movie. I've already seen it multiple times. It's a good one. So yeah, I thought we just watched that recently. It's a dope movie. So that's the incident at the Round School that I was like, what the fuck? Why is nobody talking about this? Yeah, young girl, potentially real life, spirited away by ghosts, or well, the Tengu or a bad spirit. There's another theory that it is a portal to a dark realm. Yeah, I know. I love that movie too. Well, I love anything from the Studio Ghibli. Now, I guess not anything, but most things I've watched from Studio Ghibli have been really dope. So, but in any case, yeah. So there's another theory out there that, yeah, exactly. I don't know exactly how to say his name. So, yeah. So in any case, that's one theory. The other theory is that it is like a dark portal, and that leads to obviously a dark place. And little girl done stepped in the shit and got dark portaled away, right? So spirited away, dark portaled away. Something happened to this poor girl. This guy's got very small subscribers. I'm gonna give him a like on his video because his video is good. I see so many videos where it's just people like building houses like this, and for the most part I try to like avoid that on my own videos. But this guy had way better information than those other two guys did. The pictures are creepy. You combine the creepy ass pictures of the Round Schoolhouse with the spooky ass story behind it, girl, the real life version of Spirited Away, and you got a solid case for some shit being haunted. Then you get into everybody says, oh yeah, there's spirits around it. The forest is filled with creepy ass shit, you know, ghostly shadows and flying orbs or whatever their deal is. And then the story of that urban explorer who went in there and the, what was it, the shadow on the wall or whatever, that chased him and his friends. And then the idea that it could also be a dark portal to somewhere not so good. That whole, all around that history, good, solid ass, spooky place to visit. And out of all the places on this list so far, besides maybe the Inunaki Tunnel, this one, like, eerie wise, it looks haunted, right? That looks way more haunted than the Suicide Forest or just a tunnel, or the especially Sunshine 60, right? Since Sunshine 60 is actually, no, you're good, Cutie Pie. I appreciate you. Thank you, though, Hot Stuff. You're so sweet. Aw, thank you. I'm actually going to take a pause and go grab some coffee right now, but I appreciate you. But anyways, yeah, so definitely the spookiest place on the list, at least as far as looks go, at least up to this point. So I'm going to throw you guys on the Be Right Back screen. Usually it's called my I Need to Take a Pee screen, but today we're going to call it I Need a Coffee screen. So go ahead and chill and watch the I Need a Coffee screen, and I'll be right back. Okay, and we are back with coffee. All right, I'm already feeling more energized. So let's pop over here. Okay, and that is the Round Schoolhouse. So the next entry on the most haunted places in Japan is actually going to be, hold on, I'm going to check this. Okay. Most haunted place. Next one is going to be the Himuru Mansion. And so this one might be familiar to some people who are watching or listening. The Himuru, is that how you pronounce it? Himuru? Ooh, look at me. I sounded all fancy saying that. The Himuru Mansion is actually the main setting of the PlayStation 2 video game Fatal Frame, which I never played. Supposedly a horror game. Most people probably, just only have heard of this in this video game, Fatal Frame. I don't know if it's good or not. I haven't played games in a very long time. In the video game, the Himuru Mansion is pretty fucked. It's like a temple built over Hell's Gate. They had strangling rituals, the demon tag ritual, binding rituals, all these fucking rituals that these family of people They really loved their rituals, and they performed a whole bunch of them on this mansion and made it haunted, right? So that's in the video game. Well, did you know the many legends of the Himuro Mansion unraveling the truth of Japan's infamous Fatal Frame house? So, supposedly, the Himuro Mansion is actually based off of a real mansion that has a slightly different name. So, let's look into this. Let's see. Let's do some sleuthing. You'll find it often lists You will find it often on lists of allegedly haunted places to visit in Japan. You'll also find it frequently cited in pieces claiming to get at the real story inspiration behind Fatal Frame. It looms large in many imaginations, filled with ghosts and yuri and the flash of an ancient camera. I'm talking, of course, about Himuro Mansion, the haunted Japanese manor home allegedly located somewhere near Tokyo that's said to have a bloody, tragic history that will truly make your hair stand on end. So yeah, this is supposedly a local legend. There's another name for it, Congliere Mansion. I think that's in an actual video game. It started with an H. Here we go. I told you. See, I read sometimes these things before I show them to you guys. I don't completely just fucking wing it. When it comes to Himuro Mansion, which you might sometimes see referred to as the Himikiru Mansion, although less frequently so, nothing is quite as it seems, and the real story is much more complicated than you might think. I first learned of the legend of the Himuro Mansion some years ago, and after a lot of digging, I arrived at the conclusion that the place likely didn't exist. Oh, what a bummer, right? You're supposed to hide the lead in these things, right? Well, yeah, so nobody knows. The truth about this Himuro Mansion is it could exist, it could not exist. It is a legend in Japan, though. So if you're a fan of the PlayStation 2 video game Fatal Frame, it is based off an actual Japanese legend. It's just they don't know where the mansion is. I wrote about it for The Toast way back in 2014, approaching it from the angle of what made the story believable in the first place and why I think haunted house stories matter in the grand scheme of things. Many years later, after much more research, I still don't think Himuro Mansion is a real place, but I think the story is worth examining again, this time to take a deeper look into where all of the elements of the legend came from, because although I did touch on some of this in my past investigation, it turns out that there are further depths to plumb. Okay, so let's begin. The legend of the Himuro Mansion. The story goes a little something like this. Outside of Tokyo, somewhere in the mountains, there's a crumbling mansion. An old one built, of course, in the Japanese style rather than the Western one. Yeah, so that would be the style of it right there. This is not the Himuro Mansion. You'll see a bunch of pictures on the internet claiming that's the Himuro Mansion. And I know this because I tried to look for pictures, and it was just the same house over and over again. Okay, where were we at? Built in Japanese style rather than Western, it's unclear precisely how old the place actually is, though we know it dates back further than the late Edo period, making it at least 200 years old, although it's likely much older. Well, after 200 years, not much is going to be left of it, right? But it's not just a residence. There's more there than just a mansion, you see. There is also a variety of outdoor buildings and other structures, all significant, because Himuro Mansion is also a religious and spiritual site. It is home to a Shinto shrine and temple, and also a gate to the demon realm. This is in the video game. It's said that there was once a ritual carried out at the Himuro Mansion once every 10 years. A girl would be chosen and raised on the grounds, hidden away from the world to prevent her from forming any earthly attachments, particularly attachments to other people. When the ritual was finally performed, she would be sacrificed, her body and spirit given up to keep the demon gate closed up tight. Her death would be a gruesome one and painful, involving the tying of ropes to her limbs and neck and the cranking of a wheel until something or everything gave. Ooh, that's horrible. Sheesh. So, only around 10 years old, too, or something like that. Brutal, man. But 1 year, sometime in the previous century, the ritual failed. Despite being sequestered away for 10 long years, the girl met someone and she fell in love. And because of this love, this attachment, the ritual could not be carried out. In shame, the family charged with performing the ritual, the Himuro family, all perished as a result. Some at the hands of the family patriarch, others by suicide. Sorry, you kind of nasty nose noise there, but it happens. But wait, that's not it. Maybe the story is simpler. Maybe it's just that the mansion was the site of one of the most horrific murders in Japanese history, with 7 people dying in truly ghastly fashion. For all its infamy, the murders remain unexplained to this very day. Or maybe it's both. Maybe the 7 murders occurred in the mansion sometime after the failed ritual, the victims falling prey to whatever might be walking the grounds as a result of the ritual's failure. Maybe the 7 murders occurred during the failed ritual. Maybe these are the dead Himuros, murdered by their patriarch as the price for their failure. See, that's kind of, or maybe not. See, it could be a whole bunch of shit. That's a really sick story, though. That to me is super juicy. I can see why that legend they would make a video game out of it. I'm blown away that they haven't made a movie about that. That's such a crazy story. I like it because it's one of those stories where nobody's really in the wrong or the right. These people who are torturing these young girls, you know, very horrible thing to do, but they're doing it to keep a demon gate closed. And then, you know, through no fault of this young girl's own, through no fault of her own, she falls in love. And because she falls in love, she dooms this entire family of people who have been killing little girls to be haunted by this demon, murdered by this demon that was being held behind the gate. It's really such a fucking cool story. So much depth to it. You can put so much emotion in that story. And I just can't believe nobody has ever made a fucking movie about it. This would make such a cool movie, but I understand why they at least have a video game, you know? Regardless of what happened, the mansion is said to have been vacant for years, falling gradually into ruin. But if you were to go to it, you might witness some activity. You might see phantom splatters of blood appearing on the walls. You might see the figure of a girl hovering in a particular window. Should you snap a photograph of it, a girl you'd swear wasn't present at the time the photo was taken. And if you're particularly unlucky, you might end up other equally unlucky visitors to the mansion have ended their time there, broken with marks around their wrists as if they had been tied with ropes and pulled. Ooh. There was some odd wording in that sense, but we got through it. We understood what they meant. That's if you're able to find the place, of course. The exact location of the Himuro Mansion is always left out of these stories, an omission which has ensured that the most talked about element of the legend is where it actually is. Outside Tokyo isn't terribly specific after all. People want to know where they need to go if they actually want to see it, even if they know that such a visit would be unwise. The trouble is, there may not actually be a way to visit. In all probability, Himuro Mansion doesn't exist, not in reality and likely not even in the realm of folklore. So where does it actually come from? That's a complicated question to answer, but it all comes back to one thing. It comes back to a video game. The Fatal Frame Connection Part 1. There are 2 main pieces to the legend of Himuro Mansion, 2 pieces which, over time, have sort of merged into one. Both of them, though, are ultimately 2 sides of the same coin, and the key to getting to the bottom of the mystery surrounding the alleged mansion's existence. The first piece of the legend, the bit about Himuro Mansion having once been the site of a ritual performed to keep the Demon Gate closed, and about what happened when it failed, is easy to debunk. It's literally the backstory of the Fatal Frame game. Oh, okay, so they literally made it up for the game. Well, they made up an awesome fucking story, that's for sure. That is a dope story for a video game. Released in Japan in 2001 under the title Project Zero, with localizations arriving under its better-known English name, Fatal Frame, in North America and Europe in 2002. It is now a classic of the survival horror genre. Originally developed for the PS2, it is now merely the first entry in a franchise spanning 5 main titles and several spin-offs. Oh shit. Well, good for them for being so fucking successful, because a story like that deserves it. Players see the role of, we don't need to dive into the actual video game. I'm not particularly intrigued by that. It's worth noting, by the way, that in the lore of Fatal Frame, Himuro Mansion is meant to be located not outside Tokyo, but in what was once the Mutsu province, an area in the northeast of Japan, around Fukushima, Iwa, and the Armory prefectures are now. It was de-established in 1869, a little more than 30 years after the calamity is said to have taken place, according to the in-game mythology. Significantly, one Japanese superstition positions northeast as an inauspicious direction. It's where demons and evil spirits are said to come from. Put another way, it's where the Demon's Gate, what Westerners might think of as Hellmouth, is believed to lie. But this whole story is fiction. There's no ritual as the strangling ritual, there is no rope shrine maiden, and there was no calamity in 1837. Within the in-game universe of Fatal Frame, it's canon, but none of it ever actually happened in reality. And because none of it happened in reality, there is no actual location in Japan that played host to any of these events. But what about the legend's second piece, the one about the 7 murders, which may or may not be connected to the strangle ritual? That's a little bit more difficult to untangle, although it still ultimately leads back to Fatal Frame in more ways than one. So, part 2. Some retellings of the Himoto Mansion legend acknowledge that Fatal Frame's setting and the ritual that allegedly took place at it are indeed fictional. However, they also go on to posit that although the ritual and mansion themselves aren't real, they're both based on something real, either an actual location or an extant piece of folklore. The main piece of evidence supporting this take is an oft-quoted soundbite from the Fatal Frame director. He said, in an area outside Tokyo, there lies a mansion in which it is said 7 people were murdered in a grisly manner. On the same property, there lie 3 detached residences that surround the mansion, all of which are rumored to have ties to the mansion's troubled past. It's said there is an underground network of tunnels that lay beneath the premise, but nobody knows who made these tunnels or what purpose they served. Many inexplicable phenomena have been reported occurring on the property. Bloody handprints have been found on the walls. Spirits have been spotted on the premises, even in broad daylight. A narrow staircase leads to an attic where a spirit-sealed talisman is rumored to be locked away. Men have sought this talisman only to be found later with their bodies broken and rope marks around their wrists. So that's the whole story that we already heard. Here you'll find all of the elements of the Himoto Mansion legend mixed up into one. The 7 murders, the suggestion of a ritual, and what eyewitness reports have allegedly said now occurring on the property. You'll find this exact paragraph reproduced word for word pretty much everywhere that buys the claim that Himoto Mansion was based on something that predates Fatal Frame, either an actual place or an existing legend, but it's never properly sourced. It always identifies as something Shibata said in an interview and sometimes noted as a description of the actual inspiration for the game's setting. However, precisely what interview the quote was found in is never named or credited, and is certainly never linked. Okay. It took me some time, but I was eventually able to track down the original source of the quote, and exactly what the source turned out to be is telling. It isn't really an interview, you see, not in the journalistic sense at least. It's not a reported piece on the game or a profile of its characters or anything of the sort. It's a press release. Well, that is a piece of marketing produced and released by Tecmo as part of the ad campaign for the game. Ha! That's fucking brilliant. So their ad campaign literally led to a fucking legend being told about Japan. And here is where we have to start considering what might be the most significant piece of the puzzle. In North America, Fatal Frame was marketed as being based on a true story. The phrase is even included right there on the title screen when you first boot up the game. No shit, there it is. But this angle was not present in the Japanese release of Project Zero. What's more, the press release containing the quotations that discusses the alleged real basis for Himoto Mansion was produced specifically for the North American release of Fatal Frame. There is no equivalent or nothing at all similar from its original release in Japan. Additionally, I found nothing, not a single thing, written in either English or Japan about a haunted house legend fitting the description of the one in the press release outside the context of Fatal Frame. And I'm not the only one either. Others, researching and writing in a variety of languages, have also come up empty, finding evidence of neither house nor murders nor legend at all. At this point, after so much digging and from so many angles, I can only assume that I'm finding nothing because there is truly nothing to find. Well, that's probably a pretty good assumption. I brought up this point before. The presence and absence of the based on a true story claim is one of the main factors around which my piece on Himoto Mansion for the Toast hinged. I can only theorize about why this angle was brought in for the North American release. I suspect it has everything to do with the then recent success of the Blair Witch Project. Oh, the fucking Blair Witch Project. Absolutely it did. And a desire to hop on that gravy train as quickly as possible. But no matter what the reasoning behind the choice might have been, the fact remains that it was brought in for the North American release when it had never previously been a part of the game's mythology. I also think it's worth pointing out that previously I hadn't tracked down the source of Shibata's quote on the subject or linked it to the based on a true story angle in quite the way I've been able to do this time around. But that connection and that nature of its source are both important. They confirm much more concretely an idea I'd hitherto only found the suggestion of, that the legend of the Himoto Mansion is entirely manufactured from top to bottom, and that it was done so in service of the Fatal Frame North American release. And so there you have it. There's a couple other things we hop into here, but so this is a North American legend about Japan. If you are an American who is watching this and want to go to Japan to find some haunted houses, I don't know why you would do that, but if you wanted to, one place that a lot of people would go to look at is the Himoto Mansion. And he is very correct. This guy is whoever wrote this, Lucia. So man, woman, whoever it was that wrote this is not fucking with you. When you go to look up the most haunted places in Japan, which we're going to do, the most haunted places in Japan, the Himuro Mansion is going to pop up in a handful of lists. You know, if we don't get it right off the back, then fine. I'm not going to like, you know, sit here and scour the internet to find it, but it's going to pop up in at least a few different articles, right? There was a whole bunch of the ones that we just went over. Top 17 places you can actually visit. That'd be funny if it was in this one, since you can't. There it is. Number 2, the Himuro Mansion. Just a stone's throw away from Tokyo lies an old mansion that once housed the Himuro family, bearing witness to their tragic demise. Practicing the occult regularly, the family attempted an annual ritual. We heard of that, the strangulation ritual. Legend has it that their tormented souls linger within, striving to complete the interrupted ritual. So there you have it. The Himuro Mansion right there on a list. This is from Flip Japan Guide. Haunted places you can actually visit. And number 2 is the Himuro Mansion. So, okay, I had to include this on the list. Yeah, it's not exactly a haunted place in Japan. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It doesn't exist whatsoever. It was literally made up by the makers of this video game to sell the video game on the basis that it was a real story in America, which supposedly is okay to do. That's a real bummer that that's okay to do. But, I mean, I don't know. It's not the worst thing in the world. You've heard of, oh, God, what the fuck is that? I don't want to look at that. Jesus. Scared the shit out of me, man. This one, there was a few on this one, actually. I remember looking at this article, and there was a few. Mount Osor. There was a few of them that I was like, ooh, God, I definitely need to do a number 2 on Haunted Japan. I don't think Himuro Mansion is in this one. There's good old Sunshine 60. We're all aware of what that is. The Akugahara Forest, the Aokigahara Forest, Tuberculosis Hospital. Yeah, I almost did that one. Ooh, we're giving up some places later in the, yeah, we're looking at some places that I'm already got on the list. But in any case, yeah, so there you can see it. You go down and look up the most haunted places in Japan. All over the internet, the Himuro Mansion is there, which is hilarious. After finding that article, I was like, fuck, well, I gotta put it on my, you know, I have to talk about it. We got to talk about this because it's too good not to. The fact that in North America, there's a legend about this haunted place in Japan that only exists because a fucking video game made up this legend and did a very good job of making up a really brutal story, a really fucked up story. It doesn't exist, right? So that's really cool. Interesting. I just had to throw it in there because otherwise, honestly, like I looked up the Himuro Mansion and found a half a dozen articles on it that were all like, oh yeah, this is on the list, you know? And it was only after finding that article that I was like, oh shit, can you believe that? It's actually just from a fucking video game, which is kind of cool, to be honest. It's kind of dope. So let's see. That one is going to go later. Now we're going to go here. The old Chua Tunnel. Shaw Tunnel. We're going to have to rewatch the video because it's been a minute. So I don't remember how to pronounce that word. Chai Tunnel, something like that. The old Chesetsu Tunnel, whatever it is. But yeah, here, let's go to the video here so I can actually remember how to, and we probably don't need to read that article. Let's hit the video up. Let me pop you up over here, YouTube screen. Bam. Okay. Darker history than Inunaki. All right. So we already know how dark the history is of the Inunaki Tunnel. That does not help me at all, cutie pie. That was a good joke, though. I did like that. It made me laugh.
Wombat,
Dan,
Ghost Map Japan. We're at Chuai Tunnel, otherwise known as Chusetsu Tunnel.
let's check it out.
Chuai Tunnel, Chusetsu Tunnel. It doesn't help that it has two different names, but the Chuai Tunnel.
This is Chuai Suido. Suido is a tunnel. And you can see, let's see, Meiji 22 nen is built, has all the specs, you know. There's a big hole in the fence, 2 holes. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I think we should go ahead and climb in here. We got to be careful, not only for ghosts or anything like that, but there might be wildlife in here.
Right.
Boar and potentially even snakes. And Japan has a few variety of poisonous snakes that, you know, don't want to get any snakes in my boots. So
From October 1963 to January 1964, a man by the name of Nishiguchi Sho went on a killing spree, murdering 5 different people. All the bodies were dumped in parts in this tunnel. The murders rocked this small country town. Nishiguchi was a wanted man, and before he could kill again, he was spotted in Kumamoto and thankfully captured by police. He received the death penalty and was put away in Fukuoka prison. Ever since the murders, there has been a bad energy surrounding the tunnel, and people have reported voices and cries coming from inside at night.
Hey, we're walking through the tunnel. Nice and cool. But what the hell is that? A white sheep? Someone's clothes.
that's a shirt. Oh my God, that scared me. A little centipede in there.
Not a lot of graffiti, kind of simple. These waves. It's really dripping a lot from up here. It's got a lot of water in my face.
Oh, it's a cute little frog. Cuter than the centipede, that's for sure. I mean, it's definitely a spooky tunnel, yeah. I mean, but any tunnel that people don't use is bound to be spooky, right? There's just walking through a tunnel with all those echoes and no light is a spooky experience anyways. But the history is definitely what makes this one fucked up.
This kind of looks like a body right here and a detached head.
That was kind of a stretch. Is that SpongeBob? Patrick and SpongeBob right there? Gotta be honest, that lessens the fear a little bit. Yeah, and that's Mr. Krabs right there. Sex. You know, honestly, the graffiti almost makes it less scary. You got SpongeBob staring at you right next to graffiti that just says sex.
So the tunnel changes right here. I don't know if it's showing up very well on the camera, but
What,
there was a bat. Yeah, the bat just flew by.
What, there's a
2
few
bats.
bats?
Yeah, we got to be careful of the bats too.
Oh, shit.
But the construction here, it was very clean and very, very straight tunnel, and then it just kind of goes to a very rocky, rigid, almost like a cave kind of back here. And it kind of seems, it's hard to see on film, but we're kind of going downhill, like we're going deeper.
Yeah, check out the wall. Completely different.
that to swoop down.
That is kind of crazy. At first, I didn't really think that was a big deal. I was like, well, whatever. They ran out of concrete. But now it looks like they're in their legitimate cave. That's pretty wild.
It's getting real, guys. That's scary.
What is this?
That's caved in.
Oh shit.
That's fallen rocks, man.
Oh, shit.
Those are big boulders.
I do not feel good about that.
Yeah, falling rocks, like, that's ridiculous. That looks like a face right there. Do you see that? Right here? And just below that, it says Taskete. Taskete means help. Like help me, like save me. I don't know if you can see that. It looks like kind of like a face. Oh man,
That is creepy.
That's nuts. We've been walking quite a ways. Like this is actually a really deep tunnel. This is, I would say, way longer than Inunaki.
Yeah.
Yeah, and where the fuck does it go to?
Inunaki is short. You can see the other side of Inunaki. This is long. We've been walking for a good, I would say what? Almost close to 10 minutes, I feel like.
Yeah, easily.
I mean, whoa, there's a big bat. Whew. Bunch of bats. Sweater.
Orange sweater. No body parts inside. We're near the end. There's a lot of water here. It's not raining, but a lot of dripping water. Steak.
Vampire killer. Okay, everybody, so we reached the end of the tunnel. It's actually quite a very long tunnel. We're gonna drive around to the other side because it's hard to see, but down here it's just flooded.
Ooh.
Okay, guys, so we're gonna do the flash test. Hopefully, maybe we can catch something that is a little bit strange on film, something floating past the camera. It's pitch black over here,
Flash
so
test.
let's see what we get. Oh, there it goes. Whoa, that's nuts. If you guys can see that, we'll put that in there, but that looks crazy.
Yeah, it does.
Give me a sec here. Ready?
You made it.
I thought it was going to eat shit. I was like, oh, here he goes. So he's going to just spend a few minutes swinging like Tarzan. Here's the pictures they took. That is spooky. Like, I don't see anything, floating around or no freaky ass little girls or nothing peeking around corners, but it definitely is a spooky picture. $4.20. You see that? Weed smokers in these parts, these damn dopers.
All right, everybody, I hope you...
And that's that. So that's the, what was it called? The Chua, shit, I already forgot again.
Let's see. Let's map Japan. We're at Chuai Tunnel, otherwise known.
Sheesh, Chuai Tunnel. The Inunaki was easier to remember than that, but Chuai Tunnel. So again, what makes the tunnel so freaky? I don't believe that there is considered a lot of like ghost stuff actually happening there, but when someone dies a horrible death, yeah. Located in Haichochi, the old Chuai Tunnel has a hidden secret. From October 1963 to January 1964, 5 different people were murdered, dismembered, and thrown into this tunnel by a man named Nishiguchi. Visitors that enter the tunnel say they hear odd noises and a voice that yells, "Stop." That's kind of spooky to stop. But it's this history itself is what really makes it freaky, right? That's a pretty spooky fucking history to have. And that is the Chuai Tunnel. It's also a spooky tunnel, right? That and the round school, you know, probably the scariest looking out of everything on the list as far as like actually looking like it's haunted as shit. So, anyways, we're going to get to the very last one on my list today because I had a couple more lined up, but we're going to save them for next time. I might do a part 2 of the most haunted places in Japan. This one, best for last, the Himeji Castle, Japanese best preserved feudal castle. And this place is fucking beautiful. As far as like haunted places go, you really can't get nothing prettier than that, right? And this is just the japanguide.com. This is just giving you the guide to Himeji Castle. Look at the grounds. They got this whole cherry blossom forest on grounds. This is here in the Castle Keep, it says. And then the actual castle itself. That's really pretty, man. Look at the grounds with the cherry blossom trees. That's so beautiful. Really beautiful place. But that's not why we're talking about it today. We got a few more pictures, though. Look at that with all the cherry blossom trees. Man, I would visit this place in a heartbeat just because of how beautiful it is. Look at it from a distance. Wow. Interior is really pretty. But yeah, you can actually go tour it. This is a place for tourism. A lot of people go there, check it out. Because, yeah, it's a very beautiful, and it's an old feudal castle, right? Which is pretty fucking cool. The reason we're going to talk about this today is because this is the source of another very, I wouldn't say legend, but a famous story in Japan, and then, of course, in America. This is where the movie Ringu comes from, more or less. This is the inspiration behind the movie Ringu, which, of course, that in and of itself was a scary fucking movie, was the inspiration for The Ring over here in America. So Ringu in Japan, The Ring in America, all inspired by the ghost of the Okiku. So there's different versions of the ghost story of Okiku. Variations of this ghost story of Okiku abound, yet they share a common thread. The spectral figure emerging from a well, counting from 1 to 9 before succumbing to heart-rending sobs. In one version, Okiku accidentally breaks a plate and faces fatal consequences at the hand of her master, who discards her lifeless body into a well. Another rendition implicates Aoma's wife in the plant's destruction. In an attempt to conceal her misdeed, she casts a shattered plate into the well, falsely accusing Okiku of theft. Similarly, she meets a tragic end, punished and thrown into the well by the husband. An alternate conclusion to the story involves a friend of the Aoma family. To halt the nightly sobbing, this individual stands ready at the well during the haunting ritual. When Okiku concludes her count at 9, the friend interjects loudly, proclaiming 10. Thereafter, the ghost of Okiku is said to have vanished without a trace. So here's the Himeji Castle version of the ghost story of Okiku. So this ghost story of Okiku is about a young girl named Okiku in the haunting of a well, right? More or less, from what I can gather. There is a Himeji Castle version of this, right? So, among the attraction at the Himeji Castle is the renowned Okiku's Well. According to the Himeji rendition, Okiku served as a maid to Oyama, a retainer who schemed against his lord. Upon overhearing this treacherous plot, Okiku revealed a conspiracy to her lover, a loyal warrior, thereby thwarting the scheme. Upon discovering that Okiku had foiled his plans, Oyama sought retribution. Falsely accusing her of stealing one of 10 precious dishes, he subjected her to torturous means before ultimately killing her and casting her lifeless body into the well. Okiku's well at Himeji Castle competes with another claimed well location, the Garden of the Canadian Embassy in Tokyo, situated on land purchased from the Oyama family. It seems there are numerous locations purportedly linked to the tragic tale of the well-connected Okiku, as varied as the versions of her story. All iterations of the ghost story of Okiku share a harrowing theme, a grievously unjust and brutal treatment inflicted upon a disadvantaged girl from the lower classes. However, unlike the vengeful theme in the ghost story of Yotsuyu, retribution against the tormentor is not a predominant motive, except in one variation of the tale. So, Here's the ghost story of Okiyu and actual panels. This is a pretty old ghost story, and they actually have panels. You know, these are what, like oak panels, I think. You'd have to quote, correct me on that. But wooden panels where they draw the actual story of Okiku. And so there's some of the panels to it. But we're going to go ahead and watch a YouTube video on it. You know, I love my YouTube videos. So this is the original story of the well, Okiku's legend. And it is this legend that inspired the ring. So, I have to check it out.
Himeji Castle. In the shadows of Japan's Himeji Castle, a gruesome betrayal echoes. The vengeful ghost of Okiku, a servant thrown into a well by a sadistic samurai, haunts the night. Her voice rises, counting plays that will never be found. But why? What holds her in this endless loop of torment? This is her story, a haunting legend deeply rooted in Japanese folklore. It's a tale of betrayal, tragedy, and a spirit that refuses to be silenced. Okiku was a young servant, loyal and diligent, working in the grand halls of the castle. Her life revolved around duty, cleaning, serving, and safeguarding the Lord's prized possessions. But above all, she was tasked with watching over a set of valuable plates. Every day she counted them carefully, making sure none went missing. One of the samurai who served at the castle held significant power. Ambitious and ruthless, he often desired what he couldn't have. And this time, he wanted Okiku. Now Okiku refused him over and over, her heart unmoved by his advances. With each rejection, his anger grew, until desire turned into vengeance. One night, in the quiet stillness of the castle, the samurai devised his plan. He would make her pay. He stole one of the valuable plates, hiding it away, knowing its absence would doom Okiku. At dawn, Okiku started her daily ritual of counting the plates. 1, 2, 3, she whispered, her fingers grazing the cold metal. 7, 8, 9. Her heart stopped. The 10th plate was missing. Panic flooded her. She searched every corner, overturned every object. The plate was gone. Losing even one meant severe punishment, maybe death. Terrified, she fell to her knees before the samurai, begging for mercy. But with a cold smile, he revealed the truth. He would return the plate, but only if she became his lover. But Okiku's spirit remained unbroken. She refused him again. Fear.
This dude must have been fucking ugly, right? Because, I mean, bro's a samurai. He's got to be some kind of a badass, right? Tough guy. You know what I mean? Fucking, her whole future depends on this. He must have been some Quasimodo-ass looking motherfucker. Or just a complete jerk, too. Probably both. He sounds like a jerk, so it's probably both.
Furious, the samurai ordered his men to drag Okiku to the well. They tied her hands, the damp air clinging to the stone walls. Without mercy, they threw her into the darkness. The water swallowed her screams. Then, silence. But death couldn't silence her spirit. In the days that followed, the castle's stillness was broken. Late at night, under the pale moonlight, a voice rose from the well. At first, it was a soft whisper, barely carried by the wind. But each night, it grew louder, clearer. 1, 2, 3, 4. The voice counted, slowly, steadily, as if Okiku's ghost was still searching for that missing plate. It would climb to 9 and then stop, breaking into heart-wrenching wail. The sound chilled the blood of those who heard it. Servants whispered about the haunted well, where Okiku's restless spirit lingered, tormented by the missing plate. The ghost would appear, they said, pale and dripping with water, her long hair clinging to her face.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that too, Cutie Pie. That fucking, the art in this is beautiful. I was going to say something earlier, but I think it's probably AI art is what it is. Because I don't know how many pieces of art actually exist about this one story where they literally catalog every single scene in the story, right? It would be pretty easy for somebody to just go to an AI art creator and then say, create this scene and tweak it until it looks really good and then just make a video about it. In any case, though, you're right. The art is like, wow, really adds to the story. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, AI or not. If it's not AI, that's even more badass. Personally, that's way cool. But yeah, if it's AI, it's really fucking good. Beats the hell out of my thumbnails, that's for sure.
as she counted again and again, never reaching 10, dripping with water, her long hair clinging to her face as she counted again and again, never reaching 10. The samurai, tormented by guilt, or perhaps fear, sought the help of a priest. The priest advised him that a spirit would only find peace if the count was completed. So, one night, as the ghost of Okiku began her counting, 1, 2, 3, 4. The priest interrupted her with a loud 10. For a moment there was silence. Okiku's ghost did not scream. Instead, she vanished into the night, leaving only the sound of the wind and the distant echo of her final count. Yet even today, it is said that Okiku's spirit is not truly at rest. Some claim that on certain nights, when the moon is full and the air hangs heavy, you might still hear her counting, her voice rising from the well, echoing through the stone walls. 1, 2, 3. Perhaps she's still searching for the missing plate. Or perhaps she's waiting for someone to finally set her spirit free. And that, my friends, is the story of Okiku, the ghost who was betrayed and now haunts the well where she met her tragic end. But this is just one story among the many that we share here.
I like that. Give this channel a thumbs up. Only 97 subscribers. That's pretty good. The art, probably AI, but it still kicks a lot of ass. That's really adds to the story. So that story here, let's pop over Meow. So that story, the Ghost of Okiku, is the story that supposedly inspired Ringu, which you can see the similarities. And then Ringu obviously was remade into The Ring here in North America, the English version. You can see kind of the similarities. A young girl dies in a well, crawls out of the well every night, counts to 10. Remember in The Ring, somebody calls you on the phone after you watch a video and says you have 7 days to live. There's a number component added to it. Obviously, no video component back in ancient Japan. Sorry, they weren't, so weren't watching videos around that time. But supposedly, this one of the places where the actual Okiku's well could exist is at the Himeji Castle. Let's pull that back up so we can take a look at it. I got so many folders saved now. I gotta get rid of some of these. The Himeji Castle is one of the places in Japan where the actual Okiku's well could exist, right? So the other one was the Canadian something or another, the Canadian, not the Canadian consulate, but let me look it back up. Oh, those are just pics. The story of Okiku's well. Here we go. It could be at the Himeji Castle or the Canadian Embassy in Tokyo. So in any one of these places, you could have the actual Okiku's well. But it would be cool to visit the Himeji Castle just because of how fucking beautiful it is. Look at that. That's gorgeous, man. That's like, wow. Going to see that, just to be there and see those cherry blossoms around this giant feudal castle would be fucking dope. One of many reasons to go visit Japan. Seems like such a fucking dope country. A dope country filled with a bunch of haunted shit. So that concludes our Haunted Japan video. So there was, I think we covered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We skipped that one. 6, 7. The 7 of the most haunted places in Japan. So if you're seeing this on YouTube, hit me up in the comments. Let me know which you thought was the scariest one. We had the Suicide Forest, Sunshine 60, the Inunaki Tunnel, the Round Schoolhouse, Himuru, the Himuro Mansion. It's okay. We know that's not real now. It's a bummer. But it is really interesting how that's like legit. There's all kinds of web pages about how this place exists. And there's even a web page called Real Places You Can Visit in Japan. And it isn't real, which is kind of funny. The Chaiwo Curve or Chaiwo Tunnel, whatever that was. And then the Okiku's Well at the Himeji Mansion, right? So my favorite is the Okiku's Well. a woman crawling out of a well just freaks me out. The movie The Ring was a scary movie. It wasn't as good as The Grudge, but it was pretty fucking scary. So that's going to be my first vote. The that round schoolhouse was pretty spooky too, but all pretty freaky places, except for maybe Himuro's mansion, right? But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the stream. And if you watched it live, thank you for watching. And if you watch this on YouTube, the resulting video, thank you for staying through to the end. I hope you had some fun and learned something new about haunted places in Japan. If so, please give the video a like and subscribe. It helps the channel out. And if you enjoy this kind of content, then check out my Terrifying Tuesday playlist that I got on my channel. The next Terrifying Tuesday next week will be about Alaskan myths and legends. So I got a whole bunch of myths and legends, local myths and legends from Japan. Tomorrow will be Wildlife Wednesday. It's going to be one of my last Wildlife Wednesdays because I'm giving up on the Wildlife Wednesdays next month. So I only got 3 more of those. So the countdown with number 3 from the last will be tomorrow at 11 a.m. We're going to be talking about the 7 natural wonders of the world. So I'm kind of stoked for it. It'll be fun. It'll be a chill stream, just talking about some of the prettiest places on earth. And, you know, you can't have a bad time doing that. But in the meantime, I got to go mow my lawn. PewDiePie's got to go do something with the job. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. But thanks for checking out the video. I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, peace.